Yeah, there we go.
Sync that shit. All right.
Hold on, I forgot what I was going to say. What are we even doing?
That wasn't
here?
on 3, that was after 3.
This is a podcast, and we talk about games.
Gotcha.
It's great.
Gotcha. I'm back. Okay.
2 hours later.
Hey guys, I'm S. Dan Wolf, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the episode 4 of the Take2 podcast. This time, we are bugging our good buddy Jonti from Geekism for about an hour here. And we really appreciate his time and coming by to chat with us and get a little nerdy with us here. And so I guess, let's just jump right into this, Jonti. Let me ask you, are you more, as far as gauging your general interest in your hype, more now for Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster when you first started out?
Hello, you. First of all, I have to say that I'm contractually obliged to say that at the start of every
Absolutely.
YouTube video. So it's difficult because I didn't ride the hype wave with Planet Coaster. I came into Planet Coaster pretty late. I wasn't in the alpha, or I think I got like a few days of a beta. Like I was late to Planet Coaster compared to most.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a different experience for me with Planet Zoo, being there right from the beginning. But overall, it's kind of the same. Really, I think I prefer theme parks to zoos.
Yeah.
But purely the fact that they get to fix some of the stuff from Planco in Planet Zoo excites me a lot. I'm kind of seeing Planet Zoo as a little bit as a sort of Planet Coaster 1.5,
Right.
So would you say you're more excited for the prospect of what could be coming, like Planet Coaster 2?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's not to take anything away from Planet Zoo. I think it's
Sure.
going to be a great game. Still really enjoy it, but yeah, just the fact that they're having a sort of second pass at mostly the management features, really, and it genuinely seems, although we did get a lot of hype about management with Planet Coaster, it does genuinely seem that they've taken a lot of the sort of criticisms and issues on board from Planet Coaster into Planet Zoo regarding management. So that excites me a lot.
Right.
And the animals look gorgeous, but I never doubted that, because that's one thing that Frontier can do incredibly well. They do amazing animals. They always have since going back to like Connectimals. They were fantastic.
Right. And one thing that Drew and I always circle back to, at least for the last couple months, is they have such a sense, Frontier speaking of what we're going to try to do with this game now. Whereas with Planet Coaster, for all intents and purposes, everybody was going in kind of blind. They had no clue how many thousands of pieces we were going to use. And everyone involved, from the gamer perspective to the content creator to the developers, everyone is like, this is really our round 2. This is our sequel here.
There's something I think is going to add to, speaking on the management side of it, and I think 2 things that we've seen in the trailer for Planet Zoo that are going to add a frick ton to it are staff pathing and weather. The absence of weather, I think, really hurt management in Planet Coaster. As far as you think back to Roller Coaster Tycoon, when we had a rainstorm come through, most of your rides shut down, most of the people got unhappy. You had to manage that and stuff like that. And then the addition of staff pathing, if you've played Parkitect, you know how difficult it can be to kind of plan your backstage stuff out. So I think the addition of those 2 things is really going to just take this to something that's more familiar Tycoon wise.
Yeah, one of the biggest complaints with Planet Coaster was that the management was weak. But if you actually look at it, they kind of hit all the buttons. They had the standard janitor, security, mechanics, and entertainers, the big 4, and lots of the other stuff. Things break down, you need to buy stock and stuff. The biggest problem with Planet Coaster was that there wasn't anything that sort of threw itself up. So if you got to a park to the point where it was making $1 a month, you could
sandbox mode,
you could walk off. You
Right.
could walk off for a day and come back to $1 million. That was the problem. That once you got to go into the green, or once you got the money in the black, then there was very little that would show up. As long as you had enough mechanics to deal with breakdowns, that was pretty much it. So, like you say, things like weather, They're great ways of throwing up stuff. But even ignoring Planet Zoo for a moment, just looking at the Planet Coaster Ghostbusters DLC, you can tell that they've taken that on board with the challenges that pop up through the scenarios. And again, just pop up saying, push yourself a little bit here and you can get a little bonus. And they're still a little bit weighted badly. They're still, I think that they could be tweaked a little bit, but it's definitely a big step.
Something I noticed with that, and I even noted it in one of my playthroughs, is that we have those challenges come up, but it's not really a challenge because there's usually there might be a time limit, but there's no repercussions for not completing it. So you can you'll get $1,000 in 3 months if your guests are over 80% happiness. I'm like, okay, but what if I don't?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Or at least give it a time limit. At least that's what they need. They need a fail state. There's no fail state in Planet Coaster.
Yeah, so there's no sense of urgency wanting to complete the objective, within, like you said, a fail state and stuff. And I want to note that Planet Coaster is not the only one that kind of suffers from this. If you look at something I kind of compare to City Skylines, same thing there. If you get taxes in order and you start making a $1,000 a month,
you can walk away, go and get some dinner.
Yep, sandbox mode from there on out.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the balancing act of the modern simulation game, it seems, between wanting to design in these amazing 3D worlds that we can do whatever we want, but also having the sense of a simulation actually still going on and all that fun stuff behind the scenes. So.
And I worry that you're never going to be able to do both. And that's maybe something that we're just asking too much.
Right.
I struggle to think of a game that gives you both the creative freedom and still provides a sort of challenge. If you look at the big one being Minecraft for creative freedom, pretty much after the first couple of days, there's no challenge. Right, as soon as you've got yourself a little cave and you've got a few cows in a pen so you can get some meat, you're pretty much done. As long as you make sure you get back to your base at night, there's very little, unless you really push yourself, there's very little in the way of that. So I think it may just be one of those things that the two sort of pillars of the games just are incompatible. So I don't know. But talking more about the creative side, you were saying then about the fact that they kind of know how we're going to play it, at least our sort of niche of the player base. Right. There's a great a sort of anecdote that gets passed around of Silverette's, one of Silverette's early videos for Planet Coaster, which is like alpha, back when there was very little you could do. The gizmo wasn't fully implemented yet. And he took a lamppost and turned it upside down and pushed it into a wall to make like a hook or something. I don't know. And apparently the devs sat and watched that video and it blew their minds.
Yeah. They were like flipping chairs in the office. When
and they were like, what is this guy doing? Yeah, and you can totally see through the Planet Coaster development cycle. If you look at some of the flat rides, especially, you look at some of the original flat rides like Gears of Fear, and there's a really tall tower that's got like a king coaster sunbathing on the top of it.
Windseeker or whatever.
Yeah, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And then look at the flat rides we've got in later DLCs or free updates, how they're much plainer. They look much more like a realistic part. There's no way that hasn't been influenced by people like us playing the game.
Right, and you wonder when they first saw that. When they first saw those first few Silverette builds, they were like, you think they were sitting there thinking, oh shit, they're going to do that?
Yeah, 100%. They've said that. Yeah, they said we just didn't think people would play the game like that. We just wasn't expecting it. So now they know that we are, or at least some of us are. And that's the other thing you've got to kind of remember, that the people like us, the model train set players, as I call us, right. we are an incredibly small percentage of the player base, so right. They can't completely pander to us. The 99.9% of the people will go into Planet Zoo, they'll play through the campaign, they'll put down blueprints, they'll think it's great, and they'll never play it again. And so they've got to make sure that those people are catered for, because that's where the money's coming from, right. To be honest.
And I think they did a really fantastic job with Ghostbusters DLC. I know that the podcast right before this, Estan and myself kind of took a giant dump on the Ghostbusters DLC coming out. And,
we were not thinking that was going to be what it turned out to be. And
I was listening to that, and it was actually it was more difficult with the Ghostbusters stuff than it was with Planet Zoo, because people weren't really sort of theorizing about Planet Zoo just then. But obviously, when I was listening to that, I'd already seen Ghostbusters because of the Frontier flew me over to have a look at it a week or so before. And it was really difficult to hear, not just yourselves, a lot of other people saying as well, because the kind of only thing we had to compare it to was the Universal car sets, really, I think. Yeah. And I think a lot of people were kind of expecting more towards that, Ecto 1.
A lot of people were saying this is probably just going to be another Back to the Future pack, and
exactly.
The price didn't help their cause either. The most expensive DLC, and everyone was like, "Well, what are we gonna get from it? Tell me now." It's like,
and that it ended up being pretty stinking substantial.
Yeah, but I think they've fallen foul of that before, Frontier, where they've announced I think it must have been Spooky Pack, the first one. They announced the price, and then a few days later showed what you were getting. And they really need to start doing that the other way around. Because it happened with Spooky
first
Pack
and
as
then
well.
Sneak that price in there.
Right. Exactly, because, like we were getting at first with this, is that, I hope they go this route with the DLCs, because it kind of hits both, like you were talking, Jonti, just kind of both of them, where we have this pretty awesome storyline with this new scenario, but we also get, in my opinion, probably one of the best wall set pieces in the game in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's really best of both worlds, it seems, and I like the new direction they're going. If they keep going like this, I kind of like the new scenarios. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think so as well. My only worry with Ghostbusters, not to be too negative, I do worry it's a little bit too late. I think we could have. I think a year ago it would have.
Yeah, for Planco 1.
Yeah. I do worry it's a little. The Planco is getting a little long in the tooth now for them to start reinventing what DLCs are for it.
It seems like this is the year of reinventing for Planet Coaster a bit, between, was it classic rides with the adjustable heights on the towers, and then, just a few continuous loading with the chairlifts and everything. It seems like they're just really, everything is, this could be in Planet Coaster 2.
It's like they're finally getting around to this stuff, but the train's kind of already left the station, It's kind of like...
And perhaps it's just practice for 2, maybe. Maybe that's, maybe they're seeing it as more of a, let's see how we can push the engine and really, do some groundwork ready for Planco 2 down the line.
Yep. And, another thing I was going to hit on, you guys, speaking of Planco, Planet Zoo, we needed to bring up, what do you guys think about this early fledgling, Planet Zoo community compared to some of our older, we're seeing the new faces pop up now, new characters are joining the little Planet Zoo, the Planet Zoo train we're on. I just love to get your guys' thoughts on the Planet Zoo new infancy community here.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's very new, actually. And it's something I was thinking about the other day. I expected the Venn diagram to overlap a lot more between Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo as far as fan base is concerned. So I don't want to talk down to people, but just in case they don't know what that is, a Venn diagram is like you'll have 2 circles and the overlapping will be the percentage of people that fall into both groups or something that falls into both groups. So you might have a circle of people who like vanilla ice cream and a circle of people who like chocolate ice cream, and if they overlap, that's people who like both vanilla and chocolate. Okay, that's a very simple example, but that's what I mean. And I assumed that they would be 2 circles really overlapping of people who are interested in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, but I'm amazed at how many people, both on the Discord, on Reddit, and on my own videos, commenting with very little knowledge of what Planet Coaster is at all, maybe even just the name of it, and actually as looking at Planet Zoo as Zoo Tycoon 3, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's quite surprised me actually how many people are coming fresh to Frontier because of Planet Zoo. I assumed that most people who were interested in Zoo Tycoon games would also be interested in Theme Park Tycoon games.
And one thing I was bringing up to Jonti and Drew earlier is these Planet Zoo guys, they know their ish. Like, more so, like, there are more, like, these guys, I think there are more zoo enthusiasts a part of this community than it seems like there were coaster enthusiasts a part of the Planet coaster community. Like, these guys are like, they know down to the feather what these animals are supposed to look like, how they're supposed to be housed, what looks right, what doesn't look right. That animal would never do that. I mean, they are on top of it, and that just goes to show you how serious this new community takes this game. And I'll just let you guys run with that a sec.
I think you're correct. I mean, it seems like every day if I check the Discord or the Reddit, there's I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but there's some users that will post like your daily, here's your bear information and here's your cheetah information for the day and stuff. But I think what's going to be interesting, and maybe I think they're going to start to realize it now that we've seen some gameplay trailers and stuff like that, but are the new people coming in going to be familiar with the tools that they're going to have at their at their hand there? Because like you said, a lot of people might not be familiar with Planet Coaster, and as much as I love Planet Coaster, it's not an easy thing just to pick up and be like, oh cool, look, I built a magnificent
here's Magic Kingdom
building.
It's not
it takes a long
like
time.
That, I don't think. I mean, Jonti may be able to speak on this a little more, but talking about the menus and the controls, I think we're going to kind of get it. We're going to pick it up pretty quick. It's not going to be so
I think, as far as the
different.
building, scenery and building, I'm pretty sure are going to work exactly the same. Although they didn't show us anything being built, they did mention piece by piece quite a bit, and the building structure seems to be the grid structure that we have in Planet Coaster. So I'm not expecting any sort of crazy changes there. The only big difference I think we're having is that we're going to have the fence system from Jurassic World. So sort of click and drag fence system. But I think that's going to be more to use on exhibits as opposed to trying to build buildings out of those fences, those wall pieces.
We're going to break that.
I mean, there are people who are going to. Yeah, of course, there are people who are going to. But I think their intent is for them to be used to make exhibits. But yeah, obviously we're going to be able to pick that stuff up more. But like you say, there's a lot of people who are coming in saying, "Oh no, this animal needs to be this, and this." I can't remember who it is. There's a guy on YouTube done a fantastic series. Here it is. Let me bring it up. Let me find the chap's name on YouTube.
Speculation.
Gamer Empire.
Right.
Has been doing a really good series where he's taken like each type of biome, I guess, and talked about the animals that come with that biome.
Right.
So he's done like a video on here's the kind of things you'd find in a tundra, here's the kind of things you'd find in the desert, etc. And they're really good because I'm learning about animals just as much as I was learning about coasters with Planet Coaster. I go to the zoo, I enjoy looking at the animals. But this game is making me learn what an ungulate is, and it's making me learn, all different sort of things like the difference between apes and monkeys.
It's making you not have to read PDFs.
And not not saying this just because you're sitting here, but when you and John, when you and Mass Bandit first mentioned ungulates. That was the first time I had heard that. I was like,
I'd never heard of that.
So that's what that group of hooved animals. That is the
basically
that's
cleft
the word
tooth.
for it.
Anything with a cleft tooth, yeah.
Okay.
But it's used. I mean, obviously there are words for all sorts of different genuses and groups of animals, but that one's used quite a lot because those animals are very often grouped together on safari and on zoos. That's why that term comes up a bit more than others, I guess. It's very often that the drive-through safari or the train safari is it's zebras, giraffes, rhinos, and then lots of variations of deer usually.
So speaking of those, that's a good to hit on those. You talked about the safari and the train, and both of those are confirmed. Can you tell us if there's anything else confirmed that you saw that you can talk about?
Ride-wise, that's all we saw. Obviously, we've seen the train in lots of different screenshots and stuff now. But yeah, at this Frontier development tour we did see the safari Jeep. It looks great. It's quite a sort of standard Jeep, like an actual car Jeep size. So there's only about sort of 4 to 6 people in there. I imagine if it uses the same group mechanics of Planet Coaster, it'll be sort of one group will go in the Jeep, up to 6 people. The slightly disappointing thing is it is on a track. And it's quite a beefy track as well.
In your video,
yeah,
that was
is it like the Classica Cars collection track kind of thing?
No, it's not. No, it's like it's ridged, and it looks like there's a little edge on either side of it as well. So it's going to be quite tricky to get rid of it, unfortunately. And you're going to want to.
I was hoping at worst it was going to be like Jurassic Park type of maybe rail in the middle of the path and it kind of guides, but I don't know. I think it would have been awesome. Did you see the wheels? Like, is the wheel animation and all that? Did the Jeep does it move and bounce back?
Yeah,
and
it rolls
forth
along,
really
and there's
neat?
somebody driving it. If I remember rightly, there's somebody driving it. So
nice.
I think with a bit of work, you can make it look a bit more like an actual Jeep.
And like you said, we'll hide it as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a couple of things that disappointed me, I guess we could probably mention. That was one, the fact that the Jeep was on a quite a noticeable track.
Right.
Yeah.
Another couple of things. They've said that there's no changes to the path system from Planet Coaster.
Big oof.
Yeah, they've pretty much taken the Planco path system and used it, which is a shame because this would have been the time to change it, right?
Eston and myself were talking about. Sorry, Jonti, you definitely get back to that. They mentioned that they started developing this 2 years ago, so we were talking like that probably wasn't. It was probably enough time to make the game look really pretty. But I'm wondering if that was enough time to optimize all of the stuff that we ran into with Planet Coaster during that time.
Well, that's it, yeah. You got to think that 2 years development, like, that could pretty much be taken up on the animals, right? So, there is plenty of new stuff as well. So, to be honest with you, I don't mind so much because I'm one of the few people that doesn't hate the path system in Planco. I can usually get it to be a decent approximation of what I want it to be.
It's not a giant pet peeve of mine. I mean, there are things that like I'll try and it'll aggravate me because I can't make it look right. But I mean, I'm not gonna rail on about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I just
if I can't make it look great, I'll hide it with roofs.
Yeah, the only thing I would like that I think would completely fix it is some way of kind of painting in those little triangles you end up with. You know?
I know what you mean.
Rather than having to, like you say, sink a window in or sink a roof in, just give me a little paintbrush that'll just paint that in, and I'd be fine with it. That was
Speaking
the only
of
thing
paintbrushes, did you happen to see the terrain tools, and if we got more terrain brushes?
Did they show you any of that, or is it basically
so
like Planco?
I don't think we saw how many terrain brushes we got, as in how many paints we got. Mm-hmm. But there were new tools. So at the moment we have in Planet Coaster we have like an up, a down, a level out to foundation, a level out to an angle,
smooth, rough,
a smooth and a roughen.
Yeah.
There were about 3 or 4 more.
Damn.
Now the problem is, and as you can probably imagine, the trailer, the demo they showed us, they didn't actually do much in the demo. It was mostly kind of because the second you start doing stuff, it goes wrong, right? So most of the stuff they showed us was like, oh look, they just kind of moved around a lot. They clicked a couple of things and kind of showed us a little bit in the menu, but she didn't sit there and make an exhibit and throw some elephants in, you know. Right. So it was quite light on the actual mechanics. But we did see a few things. I think one of the things they did do is add a little bit of dirt into the saltwater crocodile pen to show that because it said the crocodile came up on the crocodile menu, it was like needs more dirt, so she placed a bit more dirt down, and then the crocodile was like, okay, now I'm happy, you know.
Yeah, and Jonti, speaking of those, weren't you saying, was it you that was talking about actual things like when it rains, everything gets wet, like as far as the mud and the backs of the animals? Like, remember how, like we were saying on the trailer, that looked like the crocodiles' backs were wet and being rained on.
They have some really awesome shaders in the game, so not only when it rains, stuff looks wet and puddles form on the paths and stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
When it snows, everything has snow on it. So the top, like they've got a really great shader in there. The trees and scenery placed down as well will gather snow on the top of them.
Right, and
that I think is the biggest the sort of the one that's really going to set this apart from its predecessors.
And one thing
that
Drew was saying is definitely from that giraffe picture we got from the pre-order bonus kind of the email or the Steam page, the lighting package on this, my God, it looks incredible.
Yeah, lighting and water like have had a bit of a A bit of an overall, I think.
Oh my god, my PC! I'm already sweating my money.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need an upgrade. That PC's done me for a few years now, but I
definitely think I am.
Upgrade.
I've got some stuff in my Amazon cart right now.
Well, there was someone on Twitter that I was following. They had a quote unquote leaked spec image that came out, and they were beefy. They were thick.
Yeah. Right.
They're like i7. Yeah. Like, oh, okay. Let me just get that.
Yeah, I take that kind of thing with a pinch of salt, though.
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, because they probably don't know themselves yet. And it usually ends up coming down a bit. I find a lot of games that if they do give a spec pretty early on, you'll find that on release it's... that's basically what they'll be doing there. They'll be working on optimization and stuff.
Right.
There, so, and the beta will probably help with that as well. If it's a proper beta, it may well be like a Planco beta that's just kind of an advertising gimmick, really. It depends. All we know is summer so far, so we don't really know when that's coming. But the Planco beta was, about a week, I think, before the game came out?
I believe so.
Yeah, the alpha was obviously massive. They had a huge alpha that was very useful for the development of the game, but the actual beta was very much a kind of promotional beta.
Yeah, beta was quick. It
was like a week. Right?
Yeah.
I think it was basically just a bit of a stress
like 4
test.
4 days. But, one thing that Drew and I, even when we're just like regularly, just in here talking, Jonti, but we always go back to an article in July of 2018, just to hit on the engine real quick, but you deal with a lot of dev companies. You're in a lot of contact with these people. We just always wonder, as far as the trials and the tribulations they've went through with Planet Coaster's development, and then all this other stuff they've got going on, Jurassic World Evolution. Why do you think sometimes with these studios, Frontier being one of them, I said in our notes, Bethesda, why is the end solution always the in-house engine? Like, why do they always say we think we can do it better with this than outside help, outside programs?
I don't know that much about this kind of thing. That's not the kind of thing that ends up getting down to our level. But purely spitballing and purely just speaking sort of out of my own head, I don't think it's a technicality issue. I think it's a cost issue. I think an in-house engine is free. And the license for Unreal or whatever isn't.
Right, and that's what Drew brings up a lot too. Drew is like, you got to figure, look how long the Cobra engine has been around, and look how much money they've put into it over the decades.
Yeah, exactly. It's there now. They're not paying any license fee for it. They're not having to pay any royalties off the back of sales for it. If it does what it needs to do, why not use it?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they know it. They built it. It's theirs, so they can.
I'm sure I read something about them moving to Unreal at Frontier.
We were. That's why we brought it up a little bit, because we thought. I thought I had read an article a little bit that they were kind of toying with the idea from here on out, every single game moving over to Unreal, which. Yeah. We were talking in some messages like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and Drew was telling me that he had saw. Somewhere, like it was one of their one of their hiring documents. They were looking for programmers with Unreal experience, I believe. But we've always heard little rattles about that, like Unreal Engine. Are they gonna maybe? And we've got the talk about maybe Frontier doing an RPG type world game. Unreal just lends itself really well to that, and Johnny Watts even alluded to that in that July 2018 article, that it always comes down to what can serve the purpose better. Can Cobra, we do it better than what this company can offer us? And it seems like every single time it falls back on Cobra's shoulders. I'm just wondering, do we see a switch?
I'm wondering if that's a lot to do with Elite Dangerous, because Elite Dangerous is really Frontier's baby, right? From what I can tell. And they have, I think it's next year or the year after, they have a ginormous update coming for Elite Dangerous, which might be space legs, which means we can finally get out of the ships and walk around. And that game is just integrate. Everything about that game is Cobra, like written all over it. And they've stated there's been talks of modding Planet Coaster, but we can't do it because they won't let us have or hack into or get into the Cobra engine because then we could get into Elite Dangerous, and they don't want anyone touching Elite. So I think everything kind of goes back to, I think it kind of always goes back to ED, and that they want to keep Elite Dangerous how it is and how they want it to be. So
the only
I think that
thing I want to very briefly mention there, just in case anyone's going to take it and run with it, the fact that maybe they've been hiring and asking for Unreal experience. It may just be that Unreal uses the same coding language. Unreal uses C++, so it may just be that. It may just be that Cobra uses C++ as opposed to C# or whatever.
Right, there could be a lot of different reasons for that don't have anything to do with game development. So.
Yeah.
And the next point we were going to move on with you, Jonti. As far as content creation goes, I know you've spoken with me about this before, but what do you think, like, the state of your YouTube career is in this point of it? We see a lot of, like, YouTube is, like, just trashing on it. This doesn't work right. This is, what do you think the state of, like, our kind of niche content creation is like, and like the state of YouTube, how we use it?
The whole state of YouTube thing always makes me giggle because there are constantly videos going up saying that it's dead, that it's broken, that there's no way to grow. I have people I'm in a few like YouTube creator groups on various different sort of social medias, and I have people say to me, there's no way to grow on YouTube, especially making Let's Plays. There's no way to grow making Let's Plays on YouTube. And then I say, but I am.
That we always go back to you. I'm like,
and
Drew,
then they say,
I knew Jonti when he had 200 subscribers. He's rolling up on 60,000 in 2 years. I mean, we're talking like a little over 700 days. And this man has amassed 53,000 subscribers. Like, it can absolutely happen.
YouTube, yeah, it can. But the thing is with YouTube, and there's an old adage that I used to work in show business before I got into this. I used to do various things within the showbiz industry, and there's an old adage that the show bit of show business is only 1/3 of the word, and the 2/3 of the word, the bigger bit of the word, is the business bit. And I always kind of go into YouTube with that head on. And the actual sort of sitting down and playing the game is such a small part of what you need to do to grow on YouTube.
Exactly.
That I don't think people really realize it. And the problem is that people record a video, and it could be the best video, it could be the most amazing creation, it could be the most hilarious Let's Play or whatever. And they throw it up and they throw it on YouTube, and it obviously gets no views, and they go, well, YouTube's broken. And and that's my worry with it, is that actually, no, it's got nothing to do with how good your video is. It's whether or not you're playing the system, it's whether or not you're working on your SEO, it's whether or not you're playing stuff that people care about as well. That's a big one. Yeah. So I think a lot of people think that YouTube growth, good YouTube growth, is kind of just like a nice sort of straight line going, like a diagonal line going up. But it isn't. It's in steps. So I had a bit of a step when Planco launched. I, for 6 months before that, spoke to myself. For 6 months before Planet Coaster came out, and I was making Minecraft videos like 4 people, So right. Planet Coaster gave me a nice little step, and then each of the Planet Coaster DLCs has given me a nice little step. I did okay off Jurassic World Evolution. I did okay off Anno, and now obviously Planet Zoo's doing pretty well for me as well. So it's riding those trends, and it's creating content that, one, the people who are already following you are going to be interested in, but also how you're going to get those new people. If you go to your analytics, say that you've got 5,000 subscribers and you have 1,000 people watch your video, only about half of those 1,000 will be subscribers, roughly. Right. I mean, that's very sort of broad terms. But whatever your views are in a video, only about half of those are subscribers. So if you've got 5,000 subscribers and you've got 1,000 views, you're sitting there thinking, well, 4,000 of my subscribers aren't watching it. No, actually about 4,500, 600 aren't watching it. A good half of your views on every video will be new people. And it's all about getting those new people to watch it and keeping those new people, and having a and having a larger base of people so that a smaller percentage will watch them. YouTube works on a rough 10% idea. So whatever your subscriber number is, if you get around 10% of that as views, that's good. And if of those 10% of those views engage somehow through a like or a comment, that's pretty good. And if people get 10% into your video, that's pretty good as well, which is the one that always gets me. They're just people have the attention span of a gnat these days.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's all based on percentages. It kind of works like people who give out leaflets, right? A new restaurant opens. People don't walk outside, give 30 leaflets out and go, right, that's it, we've got 30 people coming tonight, you know?
Yeah.
They give out 1,000 leaflets and 2% of them or something will then revert into sales. It's exactly the same with YouTube. It's definitely one of those throw enough shit and some of it will stick kind of jobs. And that's the only way you can grow on YouTube, really, is to keep throwing the shit.
And I think to actually add, all those points are perfect. I think to add on to that, and you kind of helped me with this a little bit, and all this is also networking. If you're sitting on an island by yourself, screaming out into the distance, no one's going to hear you. But if you have a few friends, you can yell a little bit louder. So you gave me my first shout and everything, and I got a little bit. It can
help. It can help. I think YouTube, it's not so bad. I think Twitch streamers think it's a bigger deal than it is. I think Twitch streamers concentrate a little bit too much on networking, especially with all these streaming groups, or I don't know what they call them, like streaming teams.
Follow for follow.
Yeah, that's just follow for follow. Just like some streamers getting together and saying, "Oh, now we're team booby ring" or whatever. I don't know. And they just and I don't know whether or not that really translates into growth necessarily. And I think a lot of it can end up just being like backpatting, and you just go around and cheer each other on and retweet each other to nobody. So I think it is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. The be-all and end-all really is just getting in front of strangers and getting your video in front of strangers. So it's all about being timely, and it's all about really tweaking that SEO. Yeah. And even people will tell you that people will tell you that tags and descriptions don't matter. When you're growing, they do. They really do.
Right.
Sorry, we're getting really technical into YouTube now, aren't we?
That's perfect, yeah. Time of our thing. But real quick before we wrap up, because this is kind of a Planet Zoo focused, kind of.
We've hardly talked about Planet Zoo.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. For 5 minutes.
We were going to, but...
Jonti, just real quick, was there anything, that you wanted to add that maybe you haven't talked about before? Just, anything you wanted to add about what you saw?
Here's the big sort of headlines for Planet Zoo then, okay? If you're coming from a Planet Coaster background, which I imagine most people listening to this are, the water is now volumetric. So awesome. Water interacts with scenery. Now, I'm using the word volumetric and not dynamic, because dynamic would mean we were able to create waterfalls and stuff. Right. It doesn't necessarily mean we can do that. It just means that the water has a weight and a physicality to it. So it will interact with stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be able to create flowing water. There is a subtle difference as far as coding is concerned.
That's one thing I was my one question for your Frontier trip. I was going to ask you.
No, I didn't see any waterfalls. Not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying there is as far as coding is concerned, there's a difference between sort of volumetric and dynamic. But the water is volumetric, which I still think is huge. Somebody shared an image the other day on Reddit that was like a shark tank, I guess, with the tunnel, the sort of tunnel underwater.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, do you think we'll be able to create something like this?" And every comment was like, "No." And I was like, "Actually, with a bit of effort, you could. I think you could."
Because you could take scenery pieces and enclose it, and it would react accordingly.
Which is quite exciting. Now, but again, all this isn't verbatim. This is all based on watching a sort of 20-minute video on a big screen. So a lot of this could be. I'm talking out my arse, but as far as it looks like it, all the scenery pieces will interact with it volumetrically, which is kind of fantastic. Exhibits themselves don't have to be built through a special fence. It seems to be that wherever you place the animal down, wherever it can get to is its exhibit. So if you place an island down with water all around it, stick a chimp on it, the chimp lives on the island because chimps don't swim. If you put an area down with a big ditch around it, you can put elephants in there because elephants won't go down a ditch. So that's exciting as well. And that also suggests to me that some animals will be free roaming. Animals that aren't going to necessarily scare guests. I imagine that animals have some sort of scare rating on them. So things like peacocks and stuff, you can maybe have them free roaming. But again, that's not confirmed. That wasn't shown. I'm just kind of making an educated guess based on what I saw.
And plus that photo we saw of the peafowl.
It kind of looks like it's
It looked
not
like it was just walking around.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting that the idea of, if you put an island out there and you build a trench around it or whatever, you put an animal on it, it recognizes that land as its land.
That's it. It just can't get out of it. So, which makes me think that any requirements the animal has regarding like certain types of terrain or certain types of plants will be based on proximity, like it does in Jurassic World Evolution, as opposed to just like if you remember back to the Zoo Tycoon games, if you had a massive box with a springbok in one corner and you put a bit of dirt down in the opposite corner, the springbok would know that dirt has been added to its thing. Whereas I imagine because of how this is going to work, it's going to be more of a proximity based thing like Jurassic World Evolution. They're going to look around and go, okay, I've got my dirt, I've got my sand, I've got my certain fern that I like or whatever,
I'm curious if you were able to see anything with the animal interactions, and they've really harped on this emotion that you're going to feel from like the birth and then to the end of having your animal. Were you able to see kind of what they were talking about with that as far as management of the animals, and you're getting into that? Not
to a massive extent purely because it was such a short demo. I mean, the animals looked fantastic. They moved around really quite nicely, especially the sort of more motion-filled animals like the chimps looked really, really good.
But they were talking about like some emotions that you're going to feel with these animals. And
but again, I just think I didn't see enough of it. I think when I hatched my first elephant, out of the cage, my first elephant comes out. I'm sure I'm going to be attached. But here they were all it was like a work in progress thing. They were all up and running.
Yeah, and see, and Rudy had a big discussion going on today about if one of the dogs in the pictures looked pregnant. So we don't know, like, are the animals actually going to look pregnant and give birth? Are they going to come out of a box? Are they going to come out of a cave?
One thing I will say that I've heard a few people say that I don't think is correct, not saying any names, anybody, but one thing that some people have reported is that animals will gradually grow. As in they will come out little tiny and slowly grow to their full size. I don't, from what we saw and what we were told, I don't think that's true. I think there's a child state and an adult state, and the animal will spend an amount of time as a child and then ping, level up into an adult, like in the like in the Sims.
The switch is
in the Sims you go from baby to toddler or whatever. Gotcha. I think that's how it's going to work.
I understand that cuts down a lot of stuff. So
we were told that each animal has 3 models. It has a child, a male, and a female.
Right, and I don't think in a game like this there's actually going to be like a birth animation. Like we're not going to see like the elephant sitting there squatting and then like a baby elephant falling out of the back of it. Like I think it might be like Jonti said, maybe just like a quick poof,
I think,
and then it's there. Like dust maybe
there may
flies
be a gestation
up.
period, but I think when it comes to it, there'll be a box turn up, and you click the box to open, like the trailer shows. I think it's going to be
there's the baby.
That's actually been in my Twitch chat has been asked a lot since this is, and I want you to confirm, Jonti. Animals cannot eat guests.
No, they can't. No.
Okay, right.
That's
right.
Yeah, they said that. That's based on the PEGI rating. To keep the PEGI rating down, the animals don't eat guests. But also, they said, okay, so it is because of the PEGI rating, and the lower the rating, the more copies they sell. But the official company line, what they actually told us was that it doesn't fit the planet sort of theme. It doesn't fit the planet, in the same way in Planet Coaster, the coasters just knock people over if they crash.
Right.
No violence kind of thing.
Like we can't see we can't watch a tiger rip one of the players, like one of the little
I'm pretty sure it'll work
off.
exactly like it does in Planet Coaster. I think if a tiger gets out, it'll run along the path and knock people out of the way quite comically. I imagine that's what we'll see.
Yeah, or people will run and scream. They'll be like programmed to run away. Hurt your park rating, stuff like that. We'll see.
And you know what? I'm fine with that.
I'm too. Yeah,
I don't need to see people
me too.
being ripped to shreds by a mongoose.
I understand on the Jurassic World Evolution side of things, you would absolutely
because
expect
it's a key part of the
it's a key part of the
IP, right? It's a key part of the aesthetic is people being eaten by dinosaurs. You've got the guy on the toilet in the first one. That's all part of it. That big sort of dinosaur coming over the top of the person. It's it's a big part of the film. So I'm totally fine with that, but I'm totally cool with this one being a little bit more sort of soft around the edges. The other major things I saw that were really quite impressive, buildings have interiors now. The staff buildings all have interiors, So they're not just like TARDIS boxes. They're not just black boxes that staff wander into and then wander out. It was fantastic, actually. The box goes down. It's still like a box. There's still like a grid box that you can decorate on the outside like you'd expect. But now there's a door and there's windows and they can go in. And you saw the guy sitting there at the counter chopping up meat and throwing it into a bucket.
That's
really,
so cool.
It's really fantastic. It looks great. And just in general, how the staff work seems to be much more developed than it does in Blanco. Like, you actually watch she put down the staff member. He walked to the it was a dog exhibit, I think, looked around, realized they needed food, then walked back to the staff building, prepared the food, took a bit of time, took like 20-30 seconds, prepared the food, carried it back in a bucket, went over to the dogs thing and tipped it out, and then slowly the dogs came over. So it's not like what I was expecting. Probably is just every now and again a guy would walk over and go and just pull like a meat chunk out of his back pocket. The fact is that all this sort of stuff matters. You're gonna have to think about where backstage goes. Yeah, you're gonna have to plan backstage. You're gonna have to do sort of proper backstage islands like you would find in an actual theme park. There'll be a backstage area that actually covers like a horseshoe of fronts of stage, to make the most out of it. And obviously the actual buildings themselves, guests don't want to see them. We have paths now that only staff can walk on. All that is really fantastic new features. The billboard system looks interesting as well. They have billboards that are generated automatically in the game. So you can place down a billboard and buy an exhibit, and it will automatically see what's there, put a picture of it up and some information and stuff, and the guests will actually go over and read them, as opposed to the billboards we have in Plancoaster. They're just a show, pretty much. So that's quite interesting as well. Lots of just little things that you can really tell that they are really trying to fix the management here and actually make a good management game first and foremost.
Sure.
Yeah, and on the scenery building side, one thing that I was really awesome to get actually confirmation from Jonti today, when they tweeted out that picture of the monkey, I said, I'm wondering if the animals interact with regular scenery pieces. Say, if I build temple walls inside the chimp enclosure, will the chimp recognize they have temple walls in there, or are regular scenery pieces not actually allowed to be placed in enclosures? Anywhere. And and Shantae's like, any scenery item can be navigated by your animals, with an exclamation point. She says items that are not classed as scenery, such as food troughs, will not be a suitable item for your animals.
So there's
to
stuff
traverse.
In the game that's going to be like you place it down on the ground, and they have a baked-in animation for it. So there's going to be stuff like food, certain enrichment items like scratching posts, the balls, the cardboard box that you see the monkey play with. I'm pretty sure all of those are going to be like, place it down and it stays there, and they come over, they do their animation, they get +1 on the fun rating or whatever, and then put it back down again and walk off. But when it comes to actual scenery pieces, especially with like the chimps and the climbing frames, every single piece can be placed down individually. You can do whatever you like with them. And the animal will work out whether or not it can get around it, it can get under it. It can get over it. A huge step up, and I think it's gonna, because I think it's gonna be really fun. Because I mentioned this in yesterday's Azuri Gardens episode, because you're gonna get the ability to make some really great looking realistic exhibits, but you're also going to get people doing monkey races. So, they're going to make a huge exhibit. They're going to put 5 monkeys down one end. They're going to have an obstacle course to the food. I can see it happening already. If nobody else does it, I'll do it. Hell.
Yeah, there you go. That's a series right there. Just have everyone send in their tracks. That's a weekly episode. That's a weekly thing.
And like I said, the engagement for this game is going to be absolutely insane. Like, I just, like I already said, I'm going to have like a giraffe pair named Al Bundy and Peg. I'm just going to absolutely act a
Jonti,
fool
I wanted to
with
ask
this
you,
game.
when you were talking about the staff building a little bit ago, did you notice that any other buildings, like, did they show off like a restaurant or like a hotel?
No,
that
they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't show any other the only buildings we saw were, I don't know whether it's just like a generic animal maintenance building or if it was specifically just for food, but all we saw was a keeper who went in, made food, and came out again. That's all they showed regarding staff. Okay. They have said, obviously, there are going to be more types of staff, but at the moment, all we saw was the actual sort of zookeeper, the ones that actually sort of care for animals. I imagine we'll at least get janitors most likely security. It's really difficult because I actually know a couple of bits that I'm not allowed to talk about still, because only because not because of anything on the day. Everything I saw on the day was allowed and I could talk about, and that's what I made the video on. That's what I've talked about today. But we went out for a meal afterwards and got one of the devs quite drunk, so I do know a few other bits, but it's not worth my skin to talk about.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But I do have one more little surprise, even you two didn't know about. But my buddy Wowman actually on one of the live streams won a Ghostbusters DLC code, and he emailed me and said, "Hey man, I already bought this. If you and Drew want to do a giveaway on fantastic. Your next podcast, go ahead and just here's the code. Just give it away." And so. Yeah, I think if everybody if you've made it this far, maybe we can do like hashtag Wowman, that's WOWMAN, in the comments section, and maybe we'll figure out a way to maybe randomly select somebody.
Them in auto randomizer.
Yeah, and we can give away a free copy of the Ghostbusters DLC, courtesy of Wowman.
Enter if you've already got the Ghostbusters DLC.
Try not to enter. Well, they might just slip and enter it by accident.
So yeah, big thank you to Wowman for sending me that code. And of course, massive thank you to Jonti. We definitely hope to have you on in the future. Maybe we learn more about this stuff. This Friday is going to be a big info dump for Planet Zoo.
From what it looks like, what they're showing on Friday is what they showed us. So you'll get. I'm pretty sure you'll get to see what we saw basically.
The 20-minute gameplay thing.
Yeah,
okay.
It sounds like
gotcha.
Lisa, who's lead artist, I think. Who gave the talk to us live. It sounds like, from what they were saying, that she sort of recorded that talk as a voiceover and is going to put that out. So that would be really awesome. So all these little things I'm talking about, if you can't quite imagine sort of how they how they're going to go, I'm pretty sure they're going to show you what we saw, which you should really get hyped for because it just looks
right.
awesome.
So yeah, she'll kind of narrate it for us and click around and show us. Awesome. Hopefully that's what goes down. That's what they're definitely leaning towards. But yeah, E3 really fun. I was kind of watching that whole PC Gamer. I'm like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Just get to Planet Zoo. We actually thought you had snuck out there, Jonti, but I'm like, Drew, I think he stayed home. He's talking about going next year.
I was offered,
and so,
unfortunately, with Rebellion offered to send me for Evil Genius 2, which is another one I'm a massive fan of. I'm a huge fan of the original. Unfortunately, their budget didn't quite stretch to covering the whole trip. And, with the Frontier trip, even though Frontier did fund that one, it still cost a bit of money and, just being over there and stuff. And also, I've got Cedar Point next week that you're going to, Drew, as well.
Yeah, buddy.
And then also just, I've only been in Canada 2 months, we're still sort of getting settled from the move. So unfortunately, it was a bit too much of a cost to get over there. But yeah, hopefully next year, I'd look. It's a big ticket for me. That was a big tick on the list, that one. There's a couple of things that, like, people sort of say, what do you want out of YouTube? And I've got 3, and I can only tick one of them so far. One of them is for it to pay the rent, which it now does amazingly. I want one of those silver plaques. I know it's ridiculous, but I'd be happy with that.
I want you to have
and I want to go to E3.
Awesome.
They're like the big 3 things that I want to accomplish as a YouTuber, and I want one down.
There you
go. As far as smaller things go, man, you are going to finally next year, you'll be in the perfect position to just probably even drive down to PAX East. So you'll be able to hit up all the Boston stuff really easy.
Boston's about
now.
a 4-hour drive for me, so I could totally do
That's
that.
That's real short.
Yeah, so you can definitely probably, have your presence at PAX East at least from now on, kind of when all that stuff's going on. So really cool. You are on our side of the pond now. This is awesome. A lot of this stuff is a lot more easily accessible. It sure is. I mean,
there's a few that I'm going to miss out on. EGX and Gamescom in Europe, both a couple of good ones. But, you kind of win some, you lose some,
It's weird seeing you tweet Yeah, it's like it's weird being here at night. Like, okay, it's 9 o'clock right now, and you still being like up and normal. Because normally you're like, let's see, 10,
5
11,
or
12,
6.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Normally you're at like 2 a.m. right now, but here we are.
That's a hell of a change, though. I can't imagine what that sleep turnover was like.
No, do you know what? The sleeping is fine. The weirdest thing is like now, for instance, I might sit there and go, "Oh, I'll give my mom a call." And I'm like, nope, it's 2 a.m.
Nope.
That's the biggest one. I've got to remember that, like, come 5 p.m. the UK shuts down for me now. So I've got to that's the only thing I have to keep bearing in mind.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh. But anyways, man, I won't keep you guys here any longer. Thank you too, like always, for kind of helping me put this together and jumping on board with this. And yeah, we will definitely, hopefully, have you on as a repeat guest.
I'm happy. I enjoy nothing more than listening to the sound of my own voice, so I will happily come and talk whenever you want.
Perfect. So,
and. But yeah, Drew, thank you too, buddy, for helping me with all this and putting these episodes together.
I'll be here always.
And and like we said, guys, leave us. We can always continue this in the comment section down below. So let us know your thoughts on all of kind of. I know we had a lot to unpackage today, and just kind of let us know what you guys think about it. And you guys have anything else you want to add before episode 4 is officially over?
That's good. I'm going to go and watch the Evil Genius gameplay demo on E3 now.
Nice.
It's a different game, but that's my other bag from this week. That's the other big one for me.
There you go. Nice. Enjoy.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, I'm S. Dan Wolf, and thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us again. And don't forget to smash that like button if you end up enjoying this video. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye. Thank you. See you.
Bye. Chicago.